thank you everyone for making it possible for us to be here and selecting our solutions among the ones that are part of the finalists. It's really an honor to be here. As you clearly stated in the intro, Celo is an open blockchain platform that aims to make financial tools accessible to anyone with a mobile phone, inspired by extensive research in countries ranging from the Philippines to Kenya, Tanzania, all the way to Colombia, Argentina, and Mexico. The team has built a mobile-first blockchain platform on which a suite of financial tools accessible to anyone with a basic smartphone can be launched. On the platform, value can be transferred faster and cheaper than traditional bank wires using globally accessible technologies. And because digital currencies are completely programmable, a wide array of financial services can be created on the platform. A quick intro to the technology. As I mentioned, the platform is based on blockchain that really allows applications to make transactions and run smart contracts in a secure and decentralized fashion. The goal for the platform is really, because it's open and decentralized, that entrepreneurs can build on it without any costs, and we currently support entrepreneurs in over 30 countries building on the platform. On top of that, you have the Celo core contracts, which are smart contracts running on the blockchain that comprise much of the logic of the platform features, including, and I think this is really important, the programmability of digital currencies that are being pegged to fiat. The first of digital currencies that has been launched on the platform is the Celo Dollar stablecoin, which really provides everyone around the world with a stable and secure, cheap and easy way to move value and engage in financial activities that would otherwise be inaccessible. And the goal really here is to make these digital currencies and access to store of value available to everyone regardless of their technical know-how. Celo dollars can be sent to any phone number in the world in less than 10 seconds for less than 100% of a cent without having a lot of really technical know-how needed in advance. On top of that, we have an ecosystem of applications that have been built on the platform. One of them is the Celo wallet. And I think this is important because what it really does, it takes the ease of sending digital payments and makes it as easy as M-Pesa really has made it to sending funds. The scope of the presentation today, however, is another application that has been built on the platform. And this has been built by bringing together 3 companies really with the focus of deployment and scaling up this application. The team at cLabs that working on this project really has over a decade of experience in emerging markets on topics as sustainable livelihoods, shared prosperity, financial inclusion, having work experience ranging from the World Bank to IFC, the Gates Foundation, and Give Directly. On the app side, one of the leaders in microwork and AI training, the team is working closely with contributors in emerging markets to make sure their experience with having access to appropriate work and payments is as smooth as possible. And all 3 of the people involved have been leading their interactions currently with the World Foods Program Impact Initiative in Kenya. And then on the Toka side, we're talking again about extensive experience in blockchain and focus on optimizing technology for users in emerging market. I think this all sounds very nice, but what is a problem that we have been trying to solve with this? And for that, I wanted to introduce you to Lillian. She's a 22-year-old nursing student that we've met during our first prototype trip in Kenya. She's been working part-time to be able to support some of her school fees. And one of the places that she does admin work for a tour guide company. And then with COVID and lockdown, obviously, she hasn't been able to perform her work, both due to restrictions to mobility and the lack of tourists in the country. And so she's had a lot of time on her hands. She hasn't really been able to employ in a productive way. And similar to Lillian's situation, according to the ILO, full or partial COVID lockdown have really impacted 80% of the global workforce. And of those 80%, we have 2 billion people that are focusing on informal labor markets that have particularly been impacted by an inability to perform their work digitally or have access to social safety nets. On the other side of the work, however, the market for artificial intelligence training in terms of performing micro tasks has been close to $9 billion last year, closer to $12 billion this year, projected to double by 2023. It has an unprecedented need, an unmet need for contributors to perform this type of work online. And this is really where our solution comes in. Our team, in close partnership with Toka and Appen, has created a blockchain-based mobile micro work application with the aim to give anyone in the world with a low-end smartphone the opportunity to earn money from the safety of their home. Our project builds on the momentum that the micro work and AI training industry has with two innovations. First, by creating a smartphone app to reach the billions that don't have access to computers. Currently, a lot of the micro work is only optimized for desktop work. And then by integrating a mobile-first digital currency as a payment rail, particularly to reduce transaction costs and reach places that otherwise would be difficult to reach due to bank de-risking or a decrease in correspondent banking. This is the first attempt to match the micro work with integrated micropayments in a way that's scalable and really allows users to cash out their funds without paying large fees or waiting to accumulate what may seem as considerable amounts. The mobile microwork solution leverages budget smartphones as cheap as $15 to make work accessible in emerging markets. And we do know that smartphone penetration far exceeds computers as the primary mode to engaging with the digital world in these countries. However, again, online marketplaces that focus on micro work have been designed to this point to those who have access to both a computer and a bank account. I'll talk to you later, but we will see how the solution really reduces transfer fees by up to 99%. One of the things that I wanted to also emphasize is that through this app, and you will see some of the examples of work on the screen, labeling receipts, labeling images, has 10 levels of difficulty and skill required. And so even if somebody doesn't have really high digital literacy, they're still able to perform work at one of the first 3 levels and make an income. A little bit about how this actually works. There is the main microwork app where people are performing tasks that have been optimized for mobile use. And then people have 2 paths depending right now where they are geographically. Either they claim their funds and they don't have to wait to reach $25 the way it used to be with PayPal. They can cash out as little as $2 if they choose to. They can either go through the Celo wallet, and then with the wallet, either exchange it for fiat and goods in certain geographic regions, or go directly to an exchange to get fiat if that's their choice. In Kenya, particularly, we're working with 2 local teams, one that has an off-ramp to the M-Pesa smartphone app for cash in, cash out, and another one that has integration to the M-Pesa feature phone app for off-ramps to enable people to either spend the funds then directly from their M-Pesa account or cash out. Up to this point, the application has been tested in 3 countries, both in Africa, in Asia, with over 400 participants. Tests ran from a length of a couple of weeks to a couple of months to make sure that we get a full impression of how it works. And we have selected people from a variety of backgrounds and levels of digital literacy, again, to make sure that we have a fair estimate of how easy or difficult it may be to perform the work, as well as a variety of low budget smartphones involved. One of the things that I wanted to make sure, and one of the reasons that we've chosen to partner with Appen on this one, is that we were able to make sure that people earned a guaranteed minimum wage per hour for performing the tasks that they were performing. Now, I'll be very honest. It was initially extremely difficult to get people to recruit them to take part of some of our testing. There's been a lot of scams worldwide when it comes to blockchain and digital currencies. And People didn't believe that they would be able to actually perform their work and cash out, but after they were able to go through the first days of providing work and cashing out and seeing that they can actually get value for their funds, the tide really turned around in terms of referrals and wanting to do more work. By the end of our pilot in Kenya, the average participant would have spent 24 hours per week working on the platform, and 89% of them said that they'd be very likely to use the platform when and if widely available. In between the tests we've done in the 3 countries, the prototype received a net promoter score of 97, and we are currently working with 2 international NGOs to help them adapt the application and use it, as well as having conversation with additional microwork providers to integrate them in on the platform to provide work and integrate the solution. Now, we see the solution really as a key component to increasing financial resilience in emerging markets, especially for informal workers who may be unable to access social safety nets during economic downturns, national or citywide lockdowns, because of their inability to go outside or the lack of customers. And I think the opportunity to make, albeit small amounts while working at home for the mobile device, would enable them to stay safe while also being able to feed themselves and their families. It also well documented that when it comes to closing the financial inclusion gender gap, digital financial services give women greater control over their finances, including safe, convenient, discrete access to financial accounts. And we do think that the solution takes things even a step further by enabling women not only to receive funds, but to earn them directly into their mobile wallet and enable them to perform the work, to work that way. I do also think that one of the interesting and really important target demographics are youth, who are very likely to possess digital skills and access to low-end smartphones, and can use this as an entry point into the labor market, but also as a way to start building those credentials around having a source of income and accessing potential credit down the road. Last but not least, this is not something we focused on so far, but I think a key demographic is people who, for a variety of reasons, may be that either it's disabilities that affect their mobility, may not be able to access labor markets in the traditional way. And so by bringing the labor to them is something that I think it's really important to highlight. But last but not least, I think the ability to match the labor demand and supply in a way that it doesn't require people to leave their community or even their home really brings about the potential for sustainable economic growth and an entry point for resilience. Yes, the world is increasingly more mobile, but if we're able to provide people with opportunities where they're at, I think we just empower them and give them additional choices that they can make. Looking at it from a competitive landscape, we've tabbled down to see a little bit really what the cost savings are in terms of sending funds. And you see a mock-up of how much it costs and how much it takes to send $5 from the US, where the great majority of platforms that require work are available to Kenya. And you'll see that with transfers on blockchain, on a mobile first blockchain, you're able to reduce that just dramatically. And ultimately, I think the solutions I'm talking about today is especially in 3 ways. One is the first attempt at really making this work available on mobile device and thus far accessible to people that don't own a desktop. It integrates payments and really gives people back so much more funds that they wouldn't be able to have access to otherwise. And then it really does this global matching of labor, demand, and supply from the safety of one's home. And ultimately, I do think that enabling global access to microwork really is one of the most compelling avenues to leading to financial inclusion and resilience, because you're matching the need to work with the need for income. But the success of this depends on our ability to operate in countries with a workforce interested in performing such work. And so a lot of our interest in being here and and presenting in front of the AFI membership is really related to understanding what questions and concerns you may have regarding the solution and how we can incorporate that to help address them, but also very clear questions that we have, how do we enable workers to use the income earned this way to access other financial services? How do we make sure that they're able to easily use and exchange funds? And just a lot of questions that we are currently getting about labor taxes and income reporting for individuals performing work. And with that, thank you.
Thank you so much, Anka, for that interesting presentation and also for finishing within the given timeline. While we're waiting for questions coming in from the participants, maybe we can go to our judges to see if they have any questions. I'll hand it over to our panel of judges. In terms of the order in which we can take question, maybe Mr. Ramzul can go first if you have any question.
Okay, thank you, Russo, for your lucid presentations, and it is very much informative, and it's a nice work, I think. So I have a couple of questions to you, that how you address the AML and CFT issues in your project. And another one is that I think you mentioned that you consult with the regulators. So which type of regulators you consult before you initiate your projects? And also you mentioned, because actually I have many questions, but due to the time limitations, I have to go in short. So you already tested 40 participants in 3 countries in Asia and Africa. So what is the gender issues? That is, out of 40 participants, how many are the male and female? And is there any special feature in for the labor market for the gender consideration? Thank you.
Thank you so much for those questions. It's 400, so 400 people, not 40, that we've tested. I do think that it's about actually 60% female and 40% male for the testing that we have done. And we've seen no significant, we've seen that women generally tend to perform more work on the phones that men do. And they've definitely been more interested and just even anecdotally have been pinging us since we've done the testing, asking when the platform launches, when it will be accessible to everyone, can they refer people? And I do think this is, women are amazingly entrepreneurial and resilient, and they will jump on the opportunities that are offered to them when they're offered. And I've seen this prior in my work on financial inclusion when I was at the World Bank, and I think this just confirms that. In terms of AML and KYC, a lot of that is really done by the partners that we have in country. So for example, the Pesabase and Katani Pay, which actually offer the off-ramp into fiat in Kenya, are the ones that are under the AML KYC regulations, and they are the ones doing the registering. But ultimately, from a platform perspective, because the payments on blockchain are traceable, and we work with blockchain analytics services as is Chainalysis and TRM, we are able to put together algorithms that flag bad behavior and understand where that may happen, and flag when transfer happens to this type of wallets. I think that's a huge topic in and of itself. In terms of regulators, we've worked with local council in all of the countries where we've tested this. This has initially been a limited testing where the funds were limited in terms of use, so closer to sort of a voucher system to make sure that we are within the regulatory framework. And we've also worked with the local cash out partners. There's one jurisdiction in which we worked directly with exchanges because they have a legal statute in the country, and they're the ones that have been doing the KYC for the people that have been using off-ramps, as well as with 2 merchant networks in this particular country And again, they're the ones that are doing the KYC for their wallets. I hope this answers all of your questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ramizul, for asking those questions, and Anka for taking the time to answer those questions. We are receiving many interesting questions from the participants as well. But before going to, or before reading those questions for you, I'll check with Nomsibu if you have any questions. And Anka, please, when you're responding, if you could kindly be brief and to the point. We'll have to take many other questions.
Thank you so much, moderator. I do have questions for Anka. Anka, when your solution, how does it really touch the bottom of the base of a pyramid? I'm talking about communities that a cell phone is charged once in a while. There's no in a community, a rural community where electrification is still very low. How does that work? Because I think our target audience is now bringing in the bottom part of the pyramid. It's not just the people that have cell phones and are using them daily. And I think, Anka, if you could also show me, or well, explain to us how it really is woman-centric in a way. You do say that most of your participants in your test group was 60% women. But remember that if you're a woman, and in Africa we have woman-headed households, you were doing so many other things at the same time. How is the solution so unique in that? My last question is, what is different? What would you, in your own opinion, say is different from other solutions, blockchain solutions available in the market? What is a unique feature to it? Thank you.
Thank you so much for those questions. Those are really good questions. Let me start in reverse. So I think it's unique because it's honestly the only solution that's adapted for mobile use. Everything else that you see is optimized for web use. And then the mobile solution is adapted to that, but it's very heavy. So as a comparison, in terms of how heavy the solution is, it's 17,000 times lighter in terms of memory and speed than transactions on Ethereum. I'll trust our engineers in that. I have not done the direct comparison. So it's really adapted for mobile use and low-end mobile use. We've tested this, as I said, on $15 smartphones, and it works. Going to your questions around feature phones and feature phones that lack access to internet or even electricity, I think that's a great point. And I'll be the first in saying that this solution is not optimized for those conditions yet. I think our focus has been on taking that, so moving from you need a laptop or a computer and a bank account to be able to have access to this type of work, to being able to say you only need access to a low-end smartphone to be accessing this kind of work, but you still need access to that. Very low data, very low on how much electricity you need and how much it consumes of a low-end smartphone, but that still ends there. We are working right now with a company who's trying to see in what way those tasks could be adapted to a feature phone. But that has not yet been deployed. And I think that's a very legitimate question. Again, in question of how is this gender focused, I don't think that, so this microwork solution provides access to work to people who wouldn't be able to travel to their work, or they have 30 minutes in which they can complete a few tasks online and solve for that sort of time poor poverty that women have when they're dealing with households and a number of other issues, and maybe provide an intro to a labor market and income this way. But I think that's it. Sort of, it brings the ability to do the work from home and directly to you. It's not going to solve a lot of the other gender issues, and I think we need to be very honest in admitting that.
Thank you so much. Let me go to Leah. Leah, you can ask one question if you want.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Anka, that was a great presentation. Thank you. I was just interested to understand a little bit more about the blockchain governance and the level of decentralization. I think particularly here in the Philippines, we've seen the rise of things like play to earn with blockchain games based on NFT. But we've seen secondary markets rise out of that, where people have been able to earn a great deal of money, which has been great for them during the pandemic. But then the protocol has been able to be managed by the people who are actually controlling the governance. So I was just wondering about the level of decentralization of this project.
Thank you so much. Anka, if you could, take just 20 seconds to answer that question.
Celo is centralized and managed by the people who vote in governance proposals. And I'm more than happy to give more answers to that. But yes, it's fully decentralized. It's proof of stake.
Great. So we have received a few questions, and I'll read them out for you. And the first question is about how can a country, or how Celo can operate in a country where digital currency is not regulated?
I think that's a question for lawyers. I think there's, again, a difference between not regulated and forbidden. We're not looking to break any laws, and it's always on account of counsel on how the exchange from digital currency into fiat can work. But really, that's a question back to you, if you think the solution is valuable.
The other question we have is that who regulates Celo?
It depends. I think Celo is a US-based company, and so obviously we adhere by all of the rules and regulations that are present on the US market. But then in countries where we have affiliates, it is either the central bank, the Securities Commission, depending on the structure, the superintendencia, depending on the structure that each country has. But very much a regulated company.
Great. And then Mr. Nasibov Arif wanted to know what is the month-on-month growth of acceptance of the cLabs app?
So right now, it has been deployed in 3 countries. I don't have the sort of the business data. I know that on average, each participant has increased by about 10 to 15% the number of hours that they've worked. But we haven't, I have not looked at the sort of growth. Maybe I should have, I'm sorry.
All right, we are over time, but I guess I'll take one more question, and that is about,
try to answer if it helps afterwards.
Yeah, again, I'll read out the question for you. Can the solution be linked to a USSD channel or system?
So you can definitely off-ramp into USSD funds. As I was mentioning, we are working right now with an entrepreneur, a developer company in Kenya, to see how much of this work could be optimized for USSD use.
All right, I guess we're good with that. Possibly we have answered all the questions. So thank you so much, Anka, again, for your presentation and taking the time to answer all those questions.